and welcome back to the Be Confident Online Conference. I'm Andy Anderson, tour guide of Enlightenment Village and co-founder of Avaya. And as you know, this is a really exciting event. We are super excited about it. And our mission is to create a really fun, a really loving, supportive community for you to learn methods, to learn tools and tips to build your self-confidence so that you can achieve your goals in your business if you have one, or in your job, your relationships, and really any area of life that you're looking to improve. And in this session, our guest is going to be showing us how when we just say yes, life will reward us. And that guest is none other than Debra Poneman. Hi there.
Hey, Andy, so happy to be with you. I love being with you and your people. You attract the best people.
That's right. That's right. We love having you, and it's always fun to talk with you, and I can't wait to dive in. And I know you have a lot of new, fun, exciting adventures that you're on that we're going to talk about in a little bit. First off, I'm going to tell everyone a little bit about you and what you're up to in the world. So, for over 35 years, Debra, who is the best-selling author and founder of Yes to Success seminars, has shared her success system, now used by tens of thousands of people across the world, ultimately to create lives filled with abundance, filled with happiness, with self-love, and unshakable inner fulfillment. And she is known as the mentor to mentors, and Debra's students have used her teachings to become super successful entrepreneurs, to become renowned transformational leaders, New York Times bestselling authors, millionaires, even billionaires. So she's, been doing some really incredible work in the world. So why don't you just start us off, Debra, by sharing a little bit about your journey? Tell us your story.
Well, I actually was born in I won't start. But I will tell you that I started meditating when I was 18. I learned the transcendental meditation technique, and shortly thereafter, I decided I wanted to become a TM teacher. So at 19, I went off and I spent time with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, learning to become a TM teacher. When I came back, I taught, I lost track after about 200 or 300, but there were many, many hundreds after that, probably into the thousands, but I didn't count. And I was also an administrator at Maharishi International University in Fairfield, Iowa. And after about 10 years of that, which I loved with all my heart, I realized that woman does not live by mantra alone, and that I really needed to make some money, like to get some health insurance or car insurance or possibly a car to insure. So I left the meditation community that I was living in at the time, and I moved to where I thought the money was, which was Los Angeles. But that was the first time I said yes. I said yes to something that I had no idea how to do it. I was going to sell investments, but I wanted to make money so that I could go back and teach meditation without feeling that I, needed to put food on the table from the money I would make from teaching. So I started selling investments. I was a dismal failure, but when that expression, you make plans and God laughs. Well, God had a gigantic yuck at me that I was going to make money selling investments. But oftentimes we do something for what we think is a reason, like to make money, but the universe has a different reason. And one night I was invited to a seminar, and I thought it was going to be on stocks and bonds so that maybe I could sell something. But it was a seminar, and this was 1980, on the law of attraction.
Whoa.
And, right? And about how our mind creates our reality, and that our thoughts vibrate out and draw to them the like vibration. And if you talk about how poor you are all the time and how you're never going to get out of debt, then you vibrate with that and you attract that. And no matter what your financial situation is, if you talk about how it's getting better all the time and you can see a vision of how great it's going to be in the future, you vibrate with that and you attract that to you. And the guy who was teaching it also said one of the great ways to become wealthy and successful is to help other people become wealthy and successful, like doing what you're doing, Andy, like offering people knowledge. Anyway, everything that this man said just vibrated in every cell of my body. And I knew at that minute that that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. I wanted to teach the knowledge that he was teaching. So I quit my job. I don't say I'm a hero because I hadn't sold any investments anyway, but I quit my job and I started devouring all of the knowledge of people like Napoleon Hill and Wallace Wattles and Florence Shinn and Catherine Ponder and Earl Nightingale. I was like a kid in the candy store, and I took the best of the best concepts and I put it into more modern terms. And my Yes to Success seminar was born. And I'll tell you something. One of the things that I did, because this is something that destroys your self-confidence, one of the things I did is I never told anybody what I was doing when I was putting my seminar together, because I had learned from these great masters that what is sacred should be kept secret. And sacred and secret come from the same root. And when you have something that you are so excited about, you don't want to go out and tell everybody. Well, two reasons. One is because then you get the accolades. People say, oh, wow, that's really great. And then you feel the reward already and you're less motivated to do it. But also what happens is that the discouragement committee shows up. Yes. And tells you all the reasons why it's not going to work. And your self-confidence is crushed before you've even had a chance for that seed to sprout. So keep that idea inside yourself, because soon, if you keep it safe and warm, and it's going to sprout and it's going to turn into an incredible, gigantic oak tree. And what's funny is that I didn't tell anybody until I was ready to give my first seminar. Then I went around putting up posters. That's what we did in 1981. Yes. We put up posters at the Santa Monica Public Library. Debra, my name was at the time, Debra Olson, to give talk on success. And the truth is that I was broke. I drove a beat-up 1968 Chevy that my aunt had left me when she died. I had no formal education other than my degree from Maharishi International University. But I also believe that God, the Creator, whispers into your ear what the Creator wants you to do on earth. Because the Creator can't come down and teach success seminars. The Creator can't come down and put on a telesummit on confidence. So the Creator whispers it into the ear of his soldier who thinks will go out and do it, not only for themselves, but for the world. And since that had been whispered into my ear, I just said yes. And when I put up the posters, the discouragement committee said, nobody's going to come to something about how your mind creates your reality. But I had said yes, and I put up the posters and I went, and it was standing room only. Wow. And from there, my company just exploded. And within a couple short years, I had reps teaching my seminar all over the world. And I was teaching in like 12 major cities in the US. And I was about to have my own daytime TV talk show with a major producer in LA. And my book was in the hands of an agent who Deepak Chopra had actually introduced me to, who was shopping it around to major publishing houses, many of whom were interested. And then I gave it all up because I said yes to something else.
Oh, yes. There it is. So what did you, first of all, two questions. What did you give it up for, right? What did you say yes to next? And like, what was your experience of confidence in choosing that in that moment?
Well, what I gave it up for is that my daughter was born. And one of the things that I teach people is to follow your heart, and that each of us was put on earth for a purpose. And your purpose is not going to go away if you take a year out to be with your mom when she's making her transition, or if you take 6 months out to work on a political campaign, or 2 years out to work for a nonprofit holding AIDS babies in Uganda, or if you take 21 years out to be a mom at home. And that's what I decided to do because, you know, Andy, I didn't want to be an imposter. I didn't want to tell people to follow their heart and then me not do it for the money or the fame or the TV show, because my heart was with this baby. I didn't want to leave her to go to the bathroom, let alone leave her to go and tape a TV show every morning. So I gave it all up cold turkey. And I remember I was supposed to do a series of programs in Southeast Asia, and my promoter who lived in Singapore called me and said, "Oh, I heard you had the baby. Let's get the dates on the books." And I said to him, Leong was his name. I said, "You're going to have to call me back in 18 years. And then it turned into 21 years after my son was born. And there I remained. But to answer the second question is about confidence. It actually didn't take self-confidence. It just took saying yes to what my inner guidance was telling me to do. And here's the thing. When your inner guidance says, say yes, and you trust, that leads to self-confidence. You see? A little twist on, because you'll be emboldened by the results. Your inner guidance will never lead you astray. I believe the way to develop self-confidence is to deeply believe that we live in a benevolent universe and that there's a higher power, a universal self that always has your back, and you're always connected to that universal self. And that's a self with a capital S. It's the same substance as your inner self. And that when we connect to that through our intuition and we receive guidance, if you listen to it, again, it will never lead you astray. If you listen to it, even when you do something that's really difficult, even if you do something that people say you're crazy, because people said I was crazy when I gave up my career, the universe will reward you. And then you'll have confidence to do it again. See, you'll never gain self-confidence based on outer achievement. It might appear to you that that's a path when you get accolades or fame or money or the book deal. But I know many people that have book deals and money and big houses and more. And they have, not only do they not have self-confidence, they actually have self-loathing because they feel like imposters. Mm-hmm. They don't have that inner confidence, that self-confidence.
Right. So, you're stressing self in self-confidence. So how is it that we get connected to that self?
Yes, because I know a lot of people find it hard to listen to their intuition. Even though when they listen to their intuition, then they see that the universe does have their back and that the results are great. But one of the ways that you can get more connected to your intuition is through meditation. I mentioned I became a meditation teacher. I taught transcendental meditation for decades, and now I teach through the Art of Living Foundation. And I really, really believe that when you do a profound meditation that drops you into the self, that you come out, and that self, which is that unbounded silence, that is the foundation to everything in our lives. When you drop into that silence, you come out with more of the silence, more of the self imbibed into your life. So I think that one of the bases to self-confidence is absolutely meditation. And the other is acting on that inner voice. And it gets easier and easier. It's like, if this is your comfort zone and there's something out there outside of your comfort zone calling you and you do it, now your comfort zone is this big.
Right.
And that thing is now inside your comfort zone and it's easy. And now you have confidence in that area. Mm-hmm. So then you could do something that's a little bit further outside your comfort zone and you do it. And then your comfort zone expands and you have more self-confidence in that area. But the main thing is just to know that the universe has your back. And all the universe wants is for you to listen to its whispers. Test it. Mm-hmm. Test it.
I love it. Thank you. So here's my next question for you. Based on, right, so you, at one point in your life, right before you had your kids, right, you had the book deal, you had the TV show, you had all this stuff going for you, and you said yes to being a mom and to living as mom for the next several years. So I know
21 years.
The next 21 years. And I know that recently you've also made a shift in your career, and it seems almost like something very similar, like you made a big shift and did something or doing something new. So tell us about that. What did you say yes to this time?
I'm really glad that you asked about that, because after 5 glorious years, fun years, joyful years of teaching the Your Year of Miracles program, I realized again that it was time for me to move on. But this time it wasn't because I had anything else to go to. It was just that inner voice was saying time was up. And it wasn't that, it's not like an ugly divorce. Marcy and I love each other. We're sisters. We're always going to be sisters. We're always going to be each other's biggest cheerleader. But my inner voice just kept saying, time is up, time is up. And I kept saying, no, it's not. Because it was a good gig. We were touching a lot of people's lives. It was, lucrative. It was like everything that I wanted. And it was joyful. But that inner voice said, time is up. There's something else that you're supposed to be doing. And it was interesting because when I announced my departure to our Year of Miracles community and I shared my process on a call, people were saying, oh, you had so much courage to follow your heart. And they wish that they were that courageous. But I don't really want to be put on any kind of courage pedestal and make it seem like it's a cakewalk to have courage. Yes, it was a leap of faith, and I tend to be a leaper, but I want to share a little bit about what was difficult for me. Is that okay?
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Okay, because I think that maybe this will be a contribution to understand what's at stake when we do say yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's the thing, Andy, and our wonderful listeners. Right now, the world is in crisis on many levels. And one of the teachings I learned, and I began sharing back in 1981 when I first started Yes to Success, is that when you do what's best for yourself, it's always best for everyone else. And I taught that as a core teaching. And I used that example about leaving a relationship, even if it appears you're hurting somebody. If you're doing what's best for yourself, it will always end up being what's best for them. I remember another thing that I said yes to. I was married to the most wonderful man on the planet for 27 years. And then I knew the time was up, that the marriage part of our friendship was over, and it was time for us to just be friends again. Mm-hmm. And it took me almost 5 years to get the courage to tell him. Mm. Wow. And so here's the thing. Again, we have to trust that we live in a benevolent universe. And it's not only best for everyone. And by the way, it totally turned out he didn't want me to leave. Finally, he let go. And this January, he is getting married to a woman who is so much better for him than me. She loves him. She just adores him. They're like 2 little lovebirds. And I'm so happy for him because I'm not a good wife. I'm a good person. I'm just not a good wife. But so I'm talking about, though, not that it's always going to be what's best for the other person or people involved, but it's going to be best for the entire world when you listen to your intuition and you take a leap, because everything is energy. And everything we do either advances the light on the planet or it advances the darkness on the planet. And I have this teaching where I say there's this light of grace that shines on all of us. And everything we want, whether it's the soulmate, the book, the money, whatever it is, it's all right there. We wouldn't have a desire if it wasn't something that we were supposed to fulfill. God is not a trickster. God is not going to say, oh, I gave you that desire, but ha, 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 I'm not giving it to you. It's just that we're kind of shrouded in a bit of darkness. But this light of grace, so why isn't this light of grace illuminating everything we want? Well, that's up to us. We could put a veil between us and the light of grace every time we do something that's not in alignment.
Mm-hmm.
And we can remove that veil between us and the light of grace so that it shines on us and we get everything we want when we do act in alignment. Okay? So when we face those things that are really hard for us, a huge pouring of light comes in and we see what really would be the best for us.
Mm-hmm.
You see?
Yes.
And there's another thing about the world. You remember the story of the 100th monkey? Do you know that story?
I don't know. Tell me.
Oh my God. Okay.
Maybe I'll know if you start talking about it, but I don't know it right now.
Well, it's actually not a story. It's based on actual scientific research that was done in 1952, where a group of scientists, they observed that monkeys on the Japanese island of Koshima, they loved eating sweet potatoes, but because the sweet potatoes were covered in sand, it decreased their pleasure. Then one little female monkey they observed had the idea to wash the sand off the sweet potato. And then she taught her friends how to do it. So now 10 monkeys were washing the sand off the sweet potato and really now enjoying their sweet potato. And then she taught her mother how to do it. And then her mother taught her friends who taught their children. And this is really what the scientists observed. And when critical mass was reached, they're not really sure if it was the 100th monkey, but there was a critical mass, it was somewhere around 100, that when the 100th monkey started washing their sweet potato, every monkey, even on the other side of the island, started washing their sweet potatoes.
Wow.
And then other monkeys in other islands other than Koshima at the same time started washing their sweet potatoes. Even on the mainland, they started washing their sweet potatoes.
Wow.
So the scientists determined that there's a point at which if one more person does a new behavior or tunes into a new awareness or moves out that side of their comfort zone or takes a leap of faith, does something as crazy as leaving, your year of miracles with nothing. I don't have anything I'm going to yet. But it's the faith, it's the trust. And it not only, as soon as you do it, the universe rewards you with all kinds of crazy things, which is already happening for me, but that trust is picked up, that awareness is strengthened on an energetic level by everyone on the planet to a greater or lesser extent. So we all want to contribute to our world. There's a term, sacred activism, which is spirituality and activism, together. And this is a way we can do it. By doing the tough stuff in our own lives, it not only increases our self-confidence because we did it and we survived, and now our comfort zone is bigger, but we also we could be the 100th monkey. We are so powerful. When we go through the tough stuff, we could be the person that leads the whole world to a new energetic level, a new energetic awareness.
A new clean sweet potato.
When you clean your sweet potato, I just want to say one other thing, and that is, because I'm just getting that this is really important to share. And yeah, I'm going to share this. When I thought of moving on from your year of miracles, I saw that what was difficult for me was not leaping, because I'm a leaper by nature. You got that. It's so, like when I stayed home with my kids and gave up my career, and now I'm doing it again. But my biggest fear, what I do is I can't handle the emotional discomfort that I projected that I would feel if I disappointed Marcy, if I disappointed the people in your year of miracles, because we're all empaths and we do feel each other's emotions. So when I thought about telling our staff and our members and Marcy, I would project their response, and then I wouldn't be able to feel, I would think I couldn't stand feeling the discomfort that I would feel over their pain or their disappointment or whatever it was. And that was why it took me 5 years to leave Fred, because
right.
I didn't want, it's not that I didn't want to hurt him, which I didn't, but more than that, I was afraid of my own pain and my own discomfort. But what I've learned that really, really is the key to self-confidence, and we got to do it now because the world needs us, is just taking a deep breath and saying yes and standing in the fire of your own discomfort. That's what we're afraid of, right? That's why we head to the refrigerator every time we're about to pick up the phone and make the hard phone call or watch one more YouTube instead of telling your partner that you want to move on from the relationship. So I had to face that big cocoon when I decided to move on from your Year of Miracles. And it's something I'm going to continue to work on. I mean, it's easier and easier every time. You'll have less and less fear every time. But I wanted to read you, actually, I know I have it here because I have it on my desk. You know that quote from Oriah Mountain Dreamer? It's called The Invitation.
I think so, yeah.
And I love this quote from, I have it on my desk, and it says, it doesn't interest me who you know or how you came to be here. I want to know if you will stand in the center of the fire with me and not shrink back. I want to know if you can sit with pain, mine or your own, without moving to hide it or fade it or fix it. And that, I think, is what we all are striving for, to stand in the center of the fire with somebody we love or ourselves, and not feeling the need to shrink or to hide it or to even fix it. Just stand in the fire.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing so authentically about all that you've been, going through in your own personal life. And I hope everyone, watching right now can take, so many of the little nuggets you've shared and apply it to their life. So just to preface for everybody, in case you don't know, Debra and Marcy Scheimhoff, who is also in this event, had Your Year of Miracles. So this was something that they'd done together for the past several years. And she was, you were sharing your story about leaving. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that it was Marcy was actually another person in this event, Marcy Scheimhoff. So I love it. I love everything. Thank you.
And also, remember, I say when you do what's best, you do for yourself, it's what's best for everybody else. And Your Year of Miracles is going to carry on without me, and it is what's best. It's like now Sue Morter's going to be a part of it, and Lisa Garr is going to be one of the hosts, and there's going to be that new fresh energy, and Marcy is more committed than ever, and she's so amazing that it is turning out to be what's best for everyone else. Amen.
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you so much. I love all your, I love talking to you. I love, you're always so inspirational and loving, and, you really speak from the heart. So I appreciate it. And so here's a question for you. Since we're running a little low on time, we're doing challenges as a result of everyone's interview. So if you were to, we're doing these challenges in our Facebook group. So if you were to give everybody maybe an inspired action to take or something to do, right, that would help them, increase their self-confidence, what would you recommend?
Well, I think I said it already, but I'll give you an idea of how to do it. Okay. Remember when you were a kid and you jumped off the diving board for the first time?
Yes.
Remember, and you walked, and then you went back, and then you went down the stairs, and you're going to do it tomorrow, and then you went back up the stairs, and then finally you just ran to the end of the diving board, held your nose, and it wasn't that big of a deal. And after that, it was easy. What I would say to people, do something tough, knowing that you are moving the energy in the world, that you are contributing to a world that works. You're contributing to a world where we use our voices. I think it was Madeleine Albright said that, now that I found my voice, I am going to use it. And if you use it once, it gets easier and easier. So do it like you were diving off the diving board for the first time. You can take a deep breath first, and even if you have to stand in the fire of your own discomfort, know that you're doing it to expand your own self-confidence and your own comfort zone, but that you are doing your part to make this world a safe and glorious place for everybody.
Mm. Mm. I'm covered in chills. I love it. Thank you. Everybody, please take this on. Do this. Do that thing that's tough, and take it on and share your experience in the group, and help support each other, and everybody else doing that thing that's tough. And we all can stand together in each other's discomfort as well as we move forward. So thank you, Debra. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So now that we're running low on time, I would love it if you would also share about your program. So there's a button below this video that takes you over to one of Debra's programs. So tell us about this.
Well, the program that I talked about that I started in 1980, and it was the launching pad for many. Actually, Marcy was one of my students. She, believe it or not, was my secretary back in 1980.
Wow.
And Atwood was one of my students, and Extreme Leadership, Steve Barber. So many. I'm not going to rattle off all the names, but many transformational leaders that were my students. And then, as you know, I gave up my career for 21 years. And when I came back, I looked at Yes to Success, and I realized that none of the knowledge was outdated, that people could still use this to create their best-selling books, to create their speaking empires. Again, if I told you how many people created empires, really became household names from taking Yes to Success and using that knowledge. I've updated it now for 2018. I'm always updating it, but the tried and true principles, I promise you, will bring you whatever it is your heart desires. It's very spiritual, it's very practical, and the proof is in the lives of all the people who put the principles to the test and had glorious results.
Oh yeah.
And it's called Yes to Success.
There it is. And I love practical spirituality. I think that's such a practical, applicable thing, and yet brings obviously spirituality into the equation. I love that. So that's perfect.
All the basis of spirituality, and there's I think 8 or 10 lessons. I actually redid it recently, and I divided it a little bit differently, but there's lots of written material and forms, and so it's a real do-it-yourself true success program.
I love it. Yes. And the testaments are all in all of the amazing people that you've taught over the years. Yeah. Marcy. And if you guys don't know Janet Atwood, she's created the passion test and is massively successful and has done so well for herself with that. And I'm sure many, many more. And absolutely. So I encourage you to take it on. And again, the button's right below this video, and head on over to Debra's site. So are there any last things you'd like to share about your program, about Yes to Success, about anything at all?
What, can you give me 3 minutes?
Sure.
Okay. This just occurred to me. I've told this story before. I think I might have even shared it with you, but I don't want people ever to look at people who look like they're very, very successful and think that we still don't have doubts about ourselves. We're human, so we always have doubts about ourselves and our self-confidence. So just know that. And I was going to tell you a very quick story, and that is when I gave up my career to be a mom at home. I remember one day when the kids were really out of sorts, and I put them on the couch because I was going to turn on the TV that day. And as I was doing the channel check, they wanted Barney. I saw Oprah. and I saw one of my students being interviewed on Oprah.
Mm.
And I remember bursting into tears, doubting at that moment. I mean, this guy had Oprah and I had these two kids whining on the couch and, knee deep in dirty diapers. And so I'm standing in front of the TV and I'm like, oh, thinking I had ruined my life, doubting everything. And the only thing that got me out of the self-pity stupor was my little girl going, Mommy, I think you forgot our popsicles. And I went, yes, I did, darling. And I went into the kitchen and I'm pouring the orange juice into the popsicle molds. And I am cursing the universe. I thought when you do what's best for yourself, I thought that if you take the leap, and here this person is on Oprah. And he was actually showing Oprah a demonstration of the power of the mind that he had learned at my seminar. And I'm like, which was fine, because when I took my 21-year hiatus, I said to everybody, just take my stuff. Don't have to give me credit. Just use it. The world needs it. But, I had these kids. He had Oprah going, oh my God. And at that moment, as I'm arguing with God, telling God that God betrayed me, God said to me, remember the book. And I remembered this book that I had read a couple years before about a man who had died. And he went through that tunnel of darkness and arrived at this place of glorious light where a being of light met him. And he came back to tell the story, but the being of light said, would you like to see the high points of your life? And the man said, I certainly would. And it was a very short movie reel. It was just him showing his son how to swing a baseball bat and dancing with his daughter at her wedding. And he's like, but what about when I brought my company public? And what about when I, built the factories in China? And what about, and the being of light said, all of those moments glorified you. And then the being of light said, would you like to see the life of somebody else who just passed over? And the man said, yes, I would. And in this book, he talks about how these curtains of golden light parted and they're sitting on a throne surrounded by hosts of angels, was the woman who used to clean his house, who would take 2 or 3 buses just to get to his house to clean his toilets. And the being of light said, would you like to see the high points of her life? And he said, yes, I would. And it showed that she had a glorious life. It showed her, stroking her mother's hair and holding her hand as she made her transition. And it showed her comforting a sad child. And it showed her carrying a pot of soup to a sick friend. And it showed her cheering at the baseball games for the kids whose parents couldn't be there to cheer because they had to work 2 or 3 jobs just to put food on the table. And it showed her just going to church and hugging everyone up and saying, how you doing today? And then the being of light said, when you get here, you discover that the only thing that matters while you're on earth is how much love you give. So while we're worrying about, being self-confident, and it's funny, I'll say one other thing, Andy, we twist ourselves into, we become chameleons to look good for other people when they're not even noticing you. They're just busy twisting themselves into pretzels and being chameleons because they're worried about what they look like to other people. So, but if you want to feel confident at every moment, just beam love, be love, and beam love. And there's nothing more powerful than that.
Oh, I think the last time I talked to you, I ended up tearing up at in your interview also. So here it is again. Thank you. I love it. I appreciate all.
You have a beautiful heart, and those 2 girls, I saw the pictures. They are so lucky to have you in their lives.
I'm a lucky bonus mom. I'll tell you that. 13 and 10 now.
It's gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this, Debra. It's always a delight to talk to you, and I appreciate you sharing your story and so authentically and everything. I appreciate it all. And I can't wait to see what you say yes to next.
Thank you for your contribution to the world.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. And here, once again, is to our collective journey to harnessing our inner power and creating unstoppable self-confidence. Bye, everybody.